Understanding and Practicing Courage for Upper Elementary Students, made by the English Montreal School Board Spiritual Community Animation Service of 2020. What is courage? Courage is the willingness and ability to work through obstacles despite feeling embarrassment, fear, reluctance, or uncertainty. Courage is overcoming the fear of doing something. That's courage. So it's not being afraid. People think that being courage means that you're not afraid of anything. Au contraire. Being courageous means that you are afraid, and even though you are afraid, you're still going out there and doing the thing that you want to do. When you practice courage, you make positive choices, even when it may be difficult for you. So practicing courage is actually very healthy for you to do. It's something that we should be doing on a regular basis. That is really good for us. Because remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It's not being afraid. It is being afraid and still doing the thing that is good for you or good for someone else, that will help you or help someone else, that will support you or support somebody else, that will make you the best version of yourself or support somebody else in their empowerment and make them feel the best version of themselves. You're doing that even though you're not sure of what the outcome could be. You're not sure if someone might make fun of you, someone might judge you, someone might walk away from you, someone might dismiss you, someone might laugh at you, laugh in your face, but you do the thing anyway because you know that it's good for you and it's good for somebody else, or it's good for somebody else. That is actual courage. And like I said, we need to practice that on a daily basis. When we think of courage, we tend to think of extraordinary acts of courage. So amazing speakers like Martin Luther King Jr. We think of the military. We think of the police. We think of firefighters. We think of superheroes. We think of people who go out there and do amazing things, who put themselves in harm's way, who stand up for what's right, even though they could get hurt. We see that as courageous, and it is courageous. And those people are courageous. But again, they're not courageous because they're not afraid of what they're doing. They're very afraid of what they're doing. But they're doing it anyway because they know that it's good for them or it's good for somebody else or it's good for a community. However, these are not the only ways that we can be courageous. You don't need to go and become a public figure or put yourself in a dangerous situation to prove that you are a courageous person. You are courageous every day. We should look at ordinary acts of courage. Example, being kind to all kinds of people is courageous. You might have been taught not to be kind to certain kinds of people. And then you say to yourself, but I know that that's wrong on some level. I know that that's not right. That doesn't go with what I believe in. And so you decide to be kind to all kinds of people. And that's courageous. Admitting your mistakes, trying to make amends, asking for forgiveness, trying to reconcile, and then moving on from those mistakes. That's courageous. Admitting our mistakes means that we have to be vulnerable. It means that we have to let other people see our weaknesses, and everyone has weaknesses, but we let other people see our weaknesses, and then we try to learn from those mistakes and grow as a person, and that takes a lot of courage because you don't know if you try to do that, will you be rejected? Will someone walk away from you? Will someone laugh in your face? Will someone still be mad at you? You don't know, but you do it anyway because you know it's the right thing for you to do. You know that it's important to say, I made a mistake and I want to change. I want to grow from this. I hurt you and I'm sorry. Being honest about who you are, being honest about what you're doing, being honest to yourself and being honest to the people around you. Very courageous. Again, takes a lot of vulnerability to say, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. This is me. That takes a lot of courage because, again, people might reject you. Not everyone will like you just as you are, and that's okay. Not everybody likes me either, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to like you, but you know what? I like you, and you definitely have other people in your life that like you. You don't need everybody to like you. You need to like you. If you walk around saying, okay, I'm going to pretend to be somebody else so that other people will like me more, you are letting fear decide how you live your life. And if you want to be courageous, you have to say no to the fear and say, no, this is who I am. And I'm going to be honest about that to myself and to others. So what prevents us from being courageous? It is fear, right? Fear, heart pounding, tongue swallowing, palms sweating, anxiety, nervousness, stopping in our tracks, not being able to move forward. That is what prevents us from being courageous. It's fear. But where does fear come from? Why does our brain react with fear when we're faced with a difficult situation? What happens to our brain? So by understanding what happens to our brain when we are afraid, it will help us find the tools necessary so that we can overcome that fear and instead be brave and courageous.
Did you know that parts of your brain are over 500 million years old? Your brain has pieces in it that are older than T-Rex. I'd like to compare the brain's evolution to a phone. The first phone was super basic. It was a landline. You could only get or make calls, and you were locked right to the spot where your phone was plugged in. Then came cell phones. They looked like walkie-talkies. No text, games, videos, apps, nothing. Now, your phone has gotten a lot smarter. Just like smartphones, as your brain upgraded, a new part came online called the prefrontal cortex. It allows you to think things through and to create and to visualize things like music, videos, and cool projects. It's known as the thinking brain. Now, let's look at the operating system of that early edition human brain. Imagine you walk into a time machine and roll back into the past. You wake up, walk out of your cave, and into the blazing sun. You feel a rumbling in your belly. Picking up some food from the store is not an option. So off you go to forage for something tasty. You look for berries at the local patch where the antelopes hang out. One tries to steal your berries, and before you know it, you end up in a fight for your life. You head down to the pond to get some water, being careful not to disturb the squad of saber-toothed tigers that are chilling near that spot. You hear one creeping up right behind you, and you take off running. Once you lose that tiger, you find a cool spot to rest. A huge black bear shows up out of nowhere. You are so startled you freeze up and hide behind a rock so he won't eat you. Just like the first cell phones were basic, the brains of our ancestors had these three basic reactions when we were in danger: to fight, to run, or to freeze. Whenever we felt danger, our brain's alarm system, known as the amygdala, would go off, code red, and scream to our bodies, "Must stay alive." Your body would immediately shut down everything that isn't needed and superpower everything else in order to help you fight, run, or freeze to stay alive. Now I want you to imagine that you jump back into your time travel machine and leap forward millions of years ahead to now. You're sitting in class and a friend tells you that so-and-so has been talking behind your back. You feel your muscles get tense and your face gets hot while your mind starts racing. What's happening? Is your life in danger? No, but your amygdala still reacts as if it's back in the jungle with your life in threat. Now you're sending out angry texts that you later are going to regret. So, How do you stop getting hijacked by your amygdala? You start by using the upgraded part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. This upgraded part of your brain is just like your smartphone. It has so many apps to help you handle any situation that life throws at you. Your brain's emotional chill app comes online and saves you from sending out texts you later regret. So, how do I make sure my smart brain shows up when I need it? Well, this is the magic of mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, it grows the upgraded part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and shrinks that old part of your brain, the amygdala. The more you practice, the more it becomes automatic for your smart brain to run the show. And you have more control over how you respond to whatever comes your way.
Just to give a little bit of a recap in terms of that video, our brain is very, very, very old. The oldest part of our brain is called the amygdala, and that's the part that kept us alive millions of years ago when we had to survive out in the wilderness. So it would have three responses: fight, flight, or freeze. And it was always in response to something that was dangerous, something that was coming, like something that was an emergency. So our amygdala is excellent in an emergency. If we need to run away from something, we need to fight something, we need to like hide from something. But on everyday situations, they're not emergencies. Everyday situations is just every day. But sometimes our brain thinks it's an emergency. But in reality, what's going on is not actually going to harm us. It's not actually going to hurt us. So we have to train our brain to calm itself down. So this is how I like to look at the brain as a visual aid. Okay, so take your hand. Everybody take your hand. Okay, this part folds in. And this part is the amygdala. Okay, it's the old brain, the mammalian brain, the brain that the video was talking about. The back of our hand is the cerebral cortex, okay, the top of our brain. And when it's flipped down, okay, the two sides are talking to each other. You have the cerebral cortex talking to the amygdala, okay, the old brain, so that they're communicating and it's explaining to it what's going on right now is not an actual dangerous situation. Okay, so the amygdala gets alerted and it tells the cerebral cortex, and the cerebral cortex talks to the amygdala and says, let's hold on. There's no bear. There's no earthquake. There's no fire. We can approach a situation with a calm, measured response. We don't need to react. We can respond and think about what we need to do before we do something. Okay? But when our fear takes over, okay, and it becomes so intense, our cerebral cortex, okay, and our amygdala stop communicating with each other. When that happens, we flip our lid. Okay? We flip our lid and we freak out. We freak out over what other people might see as tiny little situations, but for us, it is dangerous and horrifying, and we need to fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? So we flip our lid. So what do we need to do in order to keep the cerebral cortex and the amygdala talking to each other? So like in the video, okay, the narrator was explaining mindfulness. Mindfulness, meditation, prayer, it's all the same thing, essentially. And what you're doing is you're taking time out of your day to sit with yourself, to connect to something meaningful, to focus on the present moment, okay? And you're teaching your brain that it's good to do that and it's okay to do that. That it's okay to take a pause. It's okay to evaluate the situation. It's okay to take our time in trying to figure out a response, in trying to solve this problem. We don't need to run away. We don't need to hide. We don't need to fight. Okay? And so practicing mindfulness or prayer or meditation is an excellent way of training our brain, teaching our brain over time to do that. Okay, but in the meantime, while we're getting good at that. Okay, and that takes practice and that takes time. You weren't born knowing how to do everything, right? We have to learn how to do stuff. Being calm is a skill, okay? And a skill means that we need to practice at it. But in those instances when you're feeling like really tense and it's like, oh no, and you're about to flip your lid. So to prevent that from actually happening, there's a couple things you can do in the moment. Okay, one of the things you can do is called brave breath. Okay, brave breath. So when I need to feel calm, safe, and strong, I can use a brave breath to let go of my fear and have more courage. So everybody, let's practice brave breath together. So I want everyone to sit nice and comfortable, feet on the ground, knees together, hands on lap, shoulders are relaxed, jaw relaxed, okay? Take one hand, you're going to put it over your heart. Take the other hand, you're going to put it over your belly. Okay, so you're going to feel your belly expand with air. You're going to feel your heart and your lungs expand with air and contract. Okay, so that you are having a connection to your body. I'm here. Okay, I'm grounded. I feel secure. I have myself. I'm here. Okay, and so you take a deep breath in through your nose. You feel your body, the air expand. Okay, and you take that deep breath as if you're breathing in something delightful and delicious, like fresh baked cookies or what I love, hot buttered popcorn. Okay, so you breathe that in, you hold it for a second, and then you breathe out through your mouth as if you're blowing bubbles or cooling down something hot. And while you're breathing in, you focus on your body, what it feels like to breathe in. You focus on the air going into your nose. You focus on your lungs expanding, your diaphragm or your tummy getting bigger like a balloon. You hold it. And then you breathe out. And you feel your shoulders relaxed. And you feel your tummy contract. And you feel your lungs deflate. And you focus on that body sensation. And while you're breathing in and you're pausing, you say an affirmation. I can do this. I'm not in any danger right now. If I make a mistake, it's okay. I will learn and I will try again. Not everybody has to like me. I can make new friends. Okay, so you breathe in. I can do this. And you breathe out. And you do that for a few minutes. And your heart rate will go down and you will feel calmer. You can also do this while you're lying down. Okay, sometimes we need a little bit more grounded support. Okay, your back body meets the earth and you feel supported by the earth. And so doing it lying down is also really good too. And you put your hands on your belly and you breathe in and you breathe out, okay, with your knees raised. Okay. Another thing you can do is something very active, like 30 jumping jacks. Okay? And your body will calm down because you've exercised and now your heart rate will go down, and your heart rate will go down as well with your fear. Your fear will go down as well. Okay, so that's another way to calm our bodies. A third method is to adopt a brave pose. Okay, so there's been some scientific research on this, where if you stand in what's called a brave pose for at least a minute and you think about how powerful you actually are, okay, it changes your mind, your brain, into thinking, I am brave. I got this. And it makes you feel calmer about the situation. Okay, so here are some examples of brave poses. Okay, hands up like this, one hand on the waist, the other hand pointing up in a fist. Okay, we have our arms crossed but not hunched over. We're proud. Our shoulders are relaxed. Our chest is out. Our head is up. We are proud. Okay, we could be standing and looking like we're about to take off. Okay, we could be standing with one hand like this. Okay, like the green superhero, or hands just on our waist. Okay, with our legs apart. Take up space. Make room. Okay, arms like this, or like we're about to take off. Okay, and you put your foot on a chair or something and you're like, I'm going to take off. Okay, so some sort of brave pose where you're taking up space. Okay, you are standing tall and proud, and you're basically reminding yourself, I can do this. I'm not in any physical danger. It's not an emergency. I can get through this. This is just to maybe help with the parents out there or the older students. Okay, so we have 3 parts of our brain. Okay, we have the brainstem, the limbic system, and the prefrontal lobe. So the brainstem is that survival state that the video was explaining. The limbic system is the emotional state, so the amygdala, and the prefrontal cortex is the executive state, so solving problems and seeing how can I get through this? How can I respond rather than react? Okay, and so if we want to calm our brainstem, we have to feel safe. If we want to calm our limbic system, we have to feel loved, and one way to do that is to form a connection with somebody else. And if we want to get our prefrontal lobe to work itself, we have to ask ourselves, well, what can I learn from this? How do I grow from the situation? Affirmations are amazing. So when you're doing your brave pose, when you're doing your brave breath, okay, when you're doing those jumping jacks, repeat some of these affirmations. So we're going to say them together. So I want you to read them aloud with me on the screen. I feel good knowing that I have strength and love to stand up for what is right. I use my whole body to practice courage. I use my whole body to practice courage. I can choose which part of my brain to use. Learning about my brain helps me be courageous. I can hold onto my personal power. When I practice courage, it helps other people feel inspired to practice courage too. And here are some activities to help our brain learn to be more courageous. Okay, so you can take out a piece of paper and create 4 boxes, where in one box you draw what you're feeling right now. Okay, in the second box you draw who you can ask for help when you need help. You draw you being yourself, so doing something that you love to do, even if it's silly or weird or goofy or what have you. Okay, you draw yourself doing it because that's what you love to do. And you draw yourself being kind to others. Expressing what we're feeling, asking for help, being ourselves, and being kind to others are 4 acts of daily courage. Another activity you can do is, again, you take out a piece of paper, you create a box, and then underneath you write. So in the box, you draw one way that you're going to practice courage in your life this week, okay, today or within the next week. And then underneath, you talk about it, you write about it. What is this thing that you're gonna do? Why is it scary for you? And how are you going to overcome that fear and be courageous to do this thing for you? Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. You are all courageous. You are all brave. We just sometimes need to practice at it or develop some new tools to get better at it. It's a skill. It's a virtue like all the other virtues. We practice on a daily basis, and over time, it becomes easier and easier, and we become more efficient at being courageous. So thank you for being you. Thank you for your time.